there, it's Alison of Dreamweaver Designs, and today on Thinking Outside the Box, I'm going to show you how I created these ceramic effect polymer clay grunge beads. They are really fun to make, and I've created a special tool so that each time you will get a perfect bead. So let me go ahead and get set up, and I'll be back. The supplies that I used to create the beads that I showed you in the beginning were Premo White Sculpey. I used these pan pastels, and I will put up a few pictures showing the colors that I used for each bead. I finished off my beads with varithane, and this is the varithane gloss. You're going to need a bead rack. You can even make a bead rack, but something so that your beads are not laying flat in the oven. You're going to need a clay blade. I used these two brushes. This one is the e.l.f. brush that I use all the time, the eye crease brush. And this one is like a flat, let me see if I can, a flat, narrow brush. So you're going to need a brush like that. These are simply knitting needles, and they're double-ended, and you can use any size that you want. I believe these are a size 3 or 4. And that will be the millimeter thickness. Or you could get yourself a wooden skewer and use that as well. For these, I also purchased this leather stamp kit from Amazon, and it's got all sorts of southwestern designs in it. Or you can use any small stamps that you have on hand to create a texture in the bead. And last but not least, these are my design templates, which are kind of hard to see because they're clear. But these will give you the perfect beads each time, and you get 3 different sizes. This large one is great for a focal bead. I designed these, and these are sold exclusively at From the Heart Supplies. And I will have a link to everything in the description below this video. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up. I'm trying to make these particular tutorials short, so they'll only be about 15-20 minutes. I'm going to have a series of tutorials using these templates. And this first one is the ceramic effect. So I will get set up and I'll be back. All right, the first step is to choose one of your templates and to roll your polymer clay out to a number 5 thickness on your pasta machine. Now, number 1 is the thickest setting on my machine. I choose a number 5 because I don't like a really bulky bead. And as you can see on this bead, that you don't have a lot of bulk. It's nice and thin and produces a beautiful bead. So the first thing that you want to do, and let me zoom you in a little more, I'm only going to make 1 bead in this video because 1 bead is all that it's going to take to show you how to do this. So the first thing you do is roll your clay out and then pick your template, and we're going to go with the biggest bead. So I'll put these 2 over here. Simply lay your template down onto your clay, and I'm working on a silicone surface, and then that way the clay isn't going to stick to it. So I really wouldn't use a tile for this process. So let me get this more in camera shot. All right, so you've laid your template down and you just want to press lightly enough where it sticks. And then you simply butt your blade up to the template. And the nice thing is this is not going to shift around. So you can butt that up and push it with no worries, and then simply push down and cut. And you just pull away the excess clay. And it's that simple. And then I lightly put that under there just to release it up off of my workspace. And you turn this over to where your clay is showing, and I just lightly pull up here and slowly and carefully pull it off of the template. Flip it over because that's the side I wanted showing. And now we need to trim our piece. And I always like to trim these edges up top because when you roll it up, it just looks neater not to have those sharp edges. So I'm just gonna take, and this is up to you how much you take, I'm just gonna take the corners off. And I always have to go back to this one and just take a little bit extra to make it even. Now for this bottom part, I don't want it, I want it to be flush to the bead. So what I'm gonna do is take it about there and I'm gonna cut at an angle. I'm not gonna cut straight down, I'm gonna cut this way so it leaves a tapered end. And as you can see, it takes a tapered end off. So that won't be so blunt. Now, you're gonna wanna take a baby wipe or some sort of moisture because you want to put, you wanna wet your stamp. So, and you don't wanna wet it a bunch, but so now the thing is to choose which stamps you want. So I'm gonna go with that one and this circle. That's kind of a like sun design. So I'm just gonna wet it and go ahead and stamp it into my clay. And what I like to do is rock it back and forth, up and down, and side to side to get my imprint. And I'm gonna do that with the other one. Up and down, side to side. You don't wanna push real hard because your clay is pretty thin, but you wanna push hard enough to get an impression into your clay. All right, now, I wanted to show you when you're done with your templates, it's very important to clean that residue off. That is from your polymer clay. You do not want to use alcohol on acrylic. And I learned the lesson the hard way. I had some alcohol sitting in this acrylic glass or cup, and this is what it did to it. It's really cool, but totally unusable now. For some reason, alcohol will eventually make your acrylic crack, so don't use it. You could either take it to the sink and use soap and water, or you can simply rub a baby wipe on it to clean it off, and then you can dry it with a paper towel. It's very important to always clean your tools when you're done. So now we have all the polymer clay off of there. The next step is we are going to roll this bead. And I'm going to bring you in even closer. And what I do is I take it and put it on the needle or dowel, whatever you're using. And I'm pushing here so that it stays on there, And now I'm just going to roll, making sure that each edge is even. And just keep rolling. Until you get to your end. And you want to make sure that that is even. And then all I do, well, we got a hair there, always a hair. All I do is simply run my finger lightly and smooth that out. Now the next step is you can either leave your bead like this, where you have these edges here, but I like to round those off. So I'm taking my X-Acto knife, and you don't have to use a knife, I'm just using it because it's a flat surface. And I'm simply going to push down and get that edge rounded. Turn it over and do the same for this side. And there you go. We are ready to decorate. I'm going to go ahead and get my pan pastel, and I'll be back. This one I'm going to use the purple and the pink. And get my brush out. And the first thing that I'm going to do is add a little pink to these impressions that we made with the stamp. Then I just blow off any extra. Go ahead and do that for the other one. Now I'm just going to clean my brush off onto a paper towel. And we're going to work with the purple. And you put the colors wherever you want. This is just how I did it. And I like to put it on pretty thick because it will lighten a little bit in the oven. Not a whole lot, but. And I'm going to get around the design and a little bit in the middle. And this does not need to be precise. And you're just going to go over the whole bead to where you want the purple. All right, now I'm going to go ahead, clean my brush off, and we're going to go back to the pink. I'm going to go back over those areas because it may have gotten some purple on them. We can move the purple out of the side, off to the side now. And now I'm just going to hit the edges with the pink. And you want to get all of it. You don't want to leave any white clay there. So you want to get these little edges here. And I like to get as much as I can down into the hole of the bead. Flip it over. And do the same on the other side. Getting all the edges. And that's it for these two colors. Now you could leave your bead just like this, or you can turn it grunge. And to do that, I take out my black pan pastel and this brush here. And what we're going to do with this is we're only going along the edges of the bead. So I like to hold it like that. We'll start with this one. And I'm probably going to fast forward through most of this once I've showed you how I'm doing it. So basically you're only hitting the very tip of your brush lightly into the black pan pastel, and you're getting just the very edge. Tap lightly and just go over the very edge. All right, now you have your edge completely done. And what I like to do now is clean my brush off. And now I'm just going to go over those edges again with my clean brush, just to make sure that they are smoothed out and perfect. Let me get some of that off of there. All right, so what that did was just smooth the black out. Now you are going to go ahead and make a bunch more of these and then place them onto your bead rack. And you are going to bake this in the oven at 275 for 60 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be back and I'll show you how I finish them off with the varithane gloss. Okay, our bead is completely cured and out of the oven and totally cooled down. Now I'm going to show you how to get your bead off of your needle. Just take a pair of pliers, hold your needle with the plier, take your bead with your hand, turn, and pull down. It's that simple. And the reason I'm taking it off of here is because I want to put it on to this chopstick. And I'm going to put it on the end of it, so that way I can go ahead and put the gloss on here and put it back onto my bead rack to dry. But the first thing that we need to do is we need to take our varithane, and these are really convenient bottles that you don't have to buy the big gallon of varithane. This will last you a long time. You don't use a lot of product at all. You are, however, going to be tempted to shake this bottle. Do not shake it. You will get air bubbles, and that will be no good on your finished piece. So what you want to do is just open the top, and you can take your chopstick and go in there and lightly stir. So you're stirring up the product. You're not forming any air bubbles by shaking. Go ahead and wipe that off. And I just then wipe it off with a paper towel and get it completely dry. And it's good to go. Now for the first coat, you're going to want to put a little bit into some sort of a container. This is just a little silicone bowl. And I'm just going to put a little bit in there because it's not going to take a lot. And the reason that I'm doing this is because for your very first coat, some of the pan pastel is going to come off. And it will taint, if you keep dipping your brush back into here, it will taint this. So you don't want to do that. So let me go ahead and put my bead back onto my chopstick. And I'll zoom you in and show you how I do the first coat. Now you want to go light. You don't want to go heavy with this. Just get a little bit on your brush. And I just kind of pat it on there at first. And then you can take it and brush over the rest of the bead. Now I put too much in there. That was wasteful. So hopefully it won't get tainted too much and I can pour it back into the container. Now you take that and you want to get just the inside of the hole. So I'm just sticking my brush in there. And now see how when I do that, how some of the color came off? That's why for the first coat, you don't want to keep dipping it back into the container. And now what I like to do is I want to go over this and get up the extra varithane, and you'll be able to see where it is because it'll be white. You don't want to leave big white pools on there. And I'm using a very soft brush. The soft brush won't leave any brush strokes and will give you very few air bubbles, which will pop on their own. So that is the first coat. And I've got up most of the white. I got inside the top part of the bead. And now what you want to do is you want this to dry 20 minutes in between coats. See how that got tainted? You don't want that in your bottle. So dry 20 minutes in between coats. I use 3 coats. The second and third coat you can do right out of the bottle because now that you've coated it, no color is going to come off. So you want to do 3 coats, 20 minutes in between each coat, and then at the very end, you're going to take your bead, and I'll just use one of the pre-made ones as an example, and you want to put it on a smaller dowel. So you don't want to use the original needle that you did. You can just put it on a dowel once it's dry, put it back onto your bead rack, and then you will go ahead and put this in the oven for 20 minutes at 200 degrees. And what that's going to do is it's going to heat set, let me get this out of the way, it's going to heat set the varithane onto this bead and make it even more durable. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and I hope that it inspires you. I want to let you all know, thank you so much for your thoughts and prayers for myself and for my daughter. As most of you know, my daughter and I got the virus. We got COVID-19. And for 3 weeks, it was bad. We struggled the first week. By the grace of God, we both made it through. My daughter finally got a negative result so that she could go back to work. And I'm going to go next week to get tested again and hopefully get a negative so that I can start seeing mom again. So I've been staying away from her because I don't want to get her sick. So thank you all so much for your thoughts and prayers. It really, really helped. My daughter and I are doing great now, and I'm back doing what I love. So thank you again. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and like that video, leave a nice comment, and I will be back next week with another tutorial on these types of beads, but I will be showing you an enamel effect that I really think that you're going to love. So until then, take care, stay healthy, be safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.